All right, so I'm going to model and texture this key. Now, this is an actual real metal key, and so it's got lots of imperfections and stuff that I'm not going to get into the model, and it's welded here. So we're just going to do what we can. It won't be exact, and the picture is not perfectly orthographic as well, but I'll link you to this in case you want to do this with me. All right, so we're going to start up here in the top. I've got my 3D cursor right there. I moved the reference image back a bit, and I think I scaled it S2 or maybe it was S3. I'm not quite sure. All right, so I'm going to bring in a curved path to do this. Go into edit mode and scale it down and press G. And I'm going to pull it up just, sort of to the left of where the midline will be, because I'll mirror this. I'm going to grab each point and start just pulling those points down like this, and then I'll bring them up and roughly get the curve. I'll select that point, press E to extrude and E to extrude, and come out to about here where the circle is, and then just keep working on this. Now I think what I'll do right now though is I'll come over to geometry and I'll hold shift and I'll pull this up. And it does not have to be exactly the same as the diagram. We just want to make a cool key using this as our guide. Now, one thing we can do is we can select a point and press Alt S, and we can make it larger. So I'm going to do that just a little bit here. And down here, these 2 points I'm going to Alt S and make a little bit narrower. And this one I can go even a little bit narrower than that. All right, so we can get this sort of gradation in the diameter of this thing. So that's roughly the shape that I would go for. All right, and you can take as long as you want on this, but assuming that I'm satisfied with it, I'm going to scroll up to the top. And this resolution, I'm going to change that to 3. And down here, this resolution, I'm going to change that to 2. And now I can convert this to a mesh. I'll come in, and I should have 8 vertices around here, which is what I want. I'm going to select there and Shift S, cursor to selected. I'll look back in the front, and still in edit mode of this object, just a little bit easier, I'm going to press Shift A, and I'm going to bring in a UV sphere, and I'm going to change this to 8 and 8. I'm going to scale this down, and G to move it to about there, and then I'm going to rotate it so that it looks like it kind of would continue with this. I may rotate a bit more and I may move it, and so maybe a little bit off the diagram. I'm going to go into wireframe and I'm going to select this middle vertex right there and Control plus to get those ones and X vertices. So I'll be left with this. So I don't like the positioning yet of this, and what I may do is I can still come in here and G move these around. I might G move it, and I might rotate this one a little bit and to match this, and then just position this a little bit. I think that's going to be okay. So I'm going to Shift Alt and click these, Shift Alt and click those, and Control E, bridge edge loops. I'll deselect, go back into object mode, and I can try shade smooth on everything, and I can try a Control 2, and this is what I end up getting. Now if I take this, if I don't like that, I can come back, and maybe what I'll do is maybe I'll select this and make this a little bit bigger and just move it out a little bit. I just want it roughly in line. So I'm going to Shift Alt and click, Shift Alt and click, Control E, bridge edge loops again, shade smooth again, and Control 2. So that's what I'll end up getting. Now let's try a mirror just to see what it's going to look like. I'll mirror it like this, and I'm going to bring this up, and these we will attach later, but that's basically what it's going to look like. All right, and I'm satisfied with that. And once we do join, we're going to have to do some work. Now, this is not going to be just a paint by numbers type thing. We're going to have to do some actual pulling of vertices around. So I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm going to turn off the mirror and turn off the subdivision surface. And I'm going to I'm just going to Shift Alt and click there, because that's roughly where I'm going to be coming from. And really all I want are these 4 vertices, now that I know where they are. All right, so I'm going to take those and E to extrude, and G I'm going to pull out I'm going to, actually I'm not going to pull out quite that far. I'm going to scale Z 0 to flatten them, and I'll get rid of those faces. Alright, so we're going to have this. Shift Alt and click on this edge again. E to extrude. I'm going to come out. I think I'll scale it out a little bit, and we'll try that and we'll see how she goes. E to extrude and come down and rotate and maybe scale in a bit, and just, we'll have to touch this up. I'm going to extrude out a bit more. I'm scaling down. I'm going to go into wireframe, and at this point I'll come back in vertex and I'll box select, and I'll just move some of these points around to a position that I might like. And you know, fortunately we'll mirror this to the other side, so we'll be able to fix this up when we need to. So just extrude down a little bit more and extrude down a little bit more. And I think at this point I'm going to rotate a bit, and I'm going to extrude down again just like this, and then I'm going to take say these points and pull them up here, and these ones up here, these ones we're going to come up, and I sort of want a nice sort of straight part here which we can join. Let's just have a look at this with the mirror and with subdivision surface on. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all these edges here in the middle. I might expand them a bit. Those ones there, I think I'll SY. Just round it out a little bit like that. And we can come up here, and let's see if we drop an edge loop right there, how does that help us look a little bit more like something? Yeah. Okay. And then now it's just a question of getting the shape that you like. Let's see if I like that. It's not bad. Okay, let's work in here. Okay, we've got two faces here. I'm going to delete those faces. And let's just bulking it up a little bit at that point. I think I will go ahead and apply the mirror. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these edges and these edges, and I'm going to Control E bridge edge loops. And now I'm going to look from underneath in wireframe, and I'll turn that off, and I'm going to box select these vertices here, Control 7, and I'm going to scale in the Y. I'm going to start simulating a circle, a little bit more of a circle, and I want to just, you know, smooth out some of these areas. So I'm going to select these vertices here, and I'm going to scale these in the X a little bit. So it's starting to look a little bit more like a circle. I might put another edge in there. I think I will, and then I can do some more here. Scale these in the Y just a little bit, and then grab all these, scale them in the Y. Alright, at this point I'm going to use loop tools to turn this into a circle. I'll scale it, and let's put the subdivision back on and just have a look at it. So you can spend time moving these points around. I've shut the mirror off, but you know, you can grab points, and they don't have to be exactly the same on both sides, because I mean, it is a real world object, and it's a piece of metal that would have been hammered and stuff like that. But anyways, this is what it's looking like. So I'm going to save that, and we'll start working on the bottom part. But let's just put on the cavity shader. And since I did the mirror, I think maybe we can work on the top part here first. So I'm going to take both of those and Control E bridge edge loops, and we'll just see how smooth that looks, and it's not bad. And so I think what I'll do is I'm going to do something else here. I'm going to select these faces. Oh, there's, I've got 5 groups or whatever, and I'm going to do the typical E and Alt S. It'll just give a little bit more detail to this. Slide an edge loop down. Just another place where I can get some edge wear on it. Alright, so I'll do that. Alright, so let's come back down here, and I'll go into wireframe. I'm going to select there, and whoops, let's not do that. Let's select there, scale it out a little bit. So the diagram's a little bit off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be moving the diagram a couple of times. I just want to get a little bit more central, and then we're just going to follow this roughly. So I've got that, so I'm going to press E to extrude it, come down, E, come down a bit more and scale it out, E, and I'll come down to there, E, and down, and scale it in, E, come a little bit straight, E, come out to here and scale, and come out to here and scale, there maybe, come down to there and scale, and scale in like that. So we're just getting some basic shapes. Down to there, scale it out. So it's not, you know, on the diagram, so just do anything that you think will look good. Almost anything will, if it's symmetrical. Come down to here, oops, come down a little bit more and scale out wider. I may take the diagram and just try to move it, and you know, just be a little bit more central, and E to extrude, and we're going to come straight down here, down to there. So really the diagram really is a little bit crazy, and you know, we don't have the same diameter just because of the way the diagram is. So just trust yourself. Come on in like that, come down and down a bit more and scale out. Just do kind of anything. I'm wider than the diameter, but that, I think that's all right. It hopefully will still look okay. I'll come down to here. I'll put another edge loop in there and bring it down to here like that. Maybe I'll put an edge loop and just scale it out like that, and we'll come back to all this. Now this part is important because we have to think about this part. So I'll come down a bit, and then I'll extrude and I'll scale out like that kind of, and then I'm going to come down and I'm going to stop there. I'm going to want an edge loop there, and then I'm going to come down to near the bottom. I'm going to want an edge loop around there, and then I'll finish this off by coming down and in and making something like this off the diagram. Just do whatever, just come down. You might be saying, why use the diagram at all? But it's, you know, just as a guide. I'll come out straight a bit, and I'll come out and I'll scale, and I'll just come out flat like that, and then I'll press F to make a face. I'll go back into solid view, and I'll Control B, pull back and roll up a bit, and I'll use that. So this is what we have. All right, now we'll go back in and we'll add some edge loops to tighten this up. All right, so certainly we're going to need an edge loop here, and I'll put an edge loop there and come up and down and up. Now this is where the key thing is going to be, but we should be fine just bringing an edge loop down to about there, and yeah, okay, and an edge loop up. And if it gets slow, just bring it back to one subdivision, and bring one in here and in here, and come up, and we'll see, maybe see what that's like. I think it's going to be okay, so I'm just going to come down here. Oh, where'd it go? There it is. Just not too tight so that they almost overlap, and it'll be very sharp. See, this needs a lot of support because it's a long section. There and here. And I think I'll make this a little flatter. by just doing that. Bring an edge loop in here and here, maybe up, and maybe an equal distance there. And then we get into this. And so now I want to come back to this. Okay, with this split, I want to select there. I'm just going to look from the side. I'm going to scale Shift Z, and I just want to narrow this. And I'll bring another edge loop down, and we'll see what if it's starting to look reasonable for the attachment. I'm going to bring another edge loop in here. So we get a nice thing there. And again, we're only on one. I'll bring it up. Okay, so some of these are not the nicest shapes, so that at this point you can tweak the shape. So that's kind of an interesting shape, but I won't go for that. All right. You could spend more time on that, by all means. Feel free to do that. I might put one in there and scale it in a little bit. Okay. That looks okay. All right, let's look from the side and see what we've got in terms of making that key. So there's the center, right? So if I select those two, I have 2 and a bit, 2 and a bit. That's perfect, actually. And that's what we're going to want in order to make the key thing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Shift D to duplicate, pull this out, P to break it out, select this, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to scale X0, make sure it's flat, and get rid of the subdivision. So I have this. Okay, now I'm going to extrude back till it just about meets, and that's fine, just like that. I'm going to go into wireframe. I'm not going to worry about this bottom part because I've got an edge loop down there. Where is it? Now let's go into here. So you've got this edge loop, which is right there. So that's going to be the length of that. So let's go in here, wireframe, and drop some edge loops roughly where we feel they would be. So I'm just going to drop edge loops there for all these cutaway parts, just like that. And then I'm going to have to come in, I'll put one there so we can cut this one away. I'm going to put one up here and one right there. All right, now 3 for face selection. I'm going to box select and see if I can get all of those out of the way. And did I? Yes, except for the tops. Okay, and get these ones, get these ones. All right, now I'm going to rebuild with those grooves. So here, for example, if I go into edge selection, if I select this face and F to make a face, to be consistent, I have to have an edge in the middle. So I'm just going to put an edge in there. Now I can select this whole thing, and I can go to face grid fill, and it will have the right edge loop in the middle. And I'm going to do a similar thing down here. I'm going to select those two faces, but I need an edge in the middle. And I can take this and grid fill, and I should be able to take this and grid fill. Come over here. I need to build the bottom one and put an edge in there. And now I should be able to take all of that and grid fill, and all of this and grid fill. Just take it all and Alt N, recalculate outside and merge by distance if necessary. And the only thing is we don't want edges on the back side of this, so maybe I'll just focus on that for the moment. And I'm going to delete these faces because we're going to join this. So delete those and come over here, and I should be able to easily find these ones. I'm going to delete those, and that's actually the two that I need to delete right there. I'm going to get rid of the subdivision surface on all of it for now. And now I'm going to take this and go into wireframe, and I want to move this vertex. I can look from the top if I want, And although it's a little bit confusing, back to follow sort of the contour of how this goes, this gap. So I'm going to be filling that in a minute. And there's another one down here. So see if I can select that one and pull it back. Something like that. And then you just decide if you want to push it in a little bit, but I don't think I will. I think I'll just start joining it. But before I do that, I'm going to Control J to join the actual objects, and then come back in here, whether you're in wireframe or not, and I'm going to drop an edge loop in on the main, this part of the key to match this. So I'm going to drop an edge loop there, and one more right about there. Alright, so now I should be able to join these fairly easily. So I'm going to make faces actually. I have to make a face. So just select the faces that are across from each other, like what I did there. So these two and those two, and just work your way around. There's a faster way of doing this, but I'm not going to bother with that. Like that. Those two. Okay. And I think I got it. Let's take it all in Alt-N, recalculate outside, merge by distance, and let's try adding a subdivision surface of 2 and shade smooth, and we now have that joined. At this point you can add some edge loops. So I can drag one here. Just don't go too tight unless you want to. I'm just going to add some edge loops here and there to get it a little bit more sort of flatter, sharper. Just not too much. I don't want it pinching too much. I think I'll come up like that. You know, I don't know that I want to do that much on this. You know, maybe something like that. Alright, and it's that really. So let's just have a look at this with a matte cap of some sort. You can do a shiny one, or we can do that red one. I often will use that one because it looks nice and it gives me a good idea of how my smoothing looks and that kind of stuff. You know, you could spend more time on this, but hopefully you get the idea and it looks reasonable enough. And I think that's pretty much fine. Maybe I'll put one there. You just decide how crazy you want to go with edge loops and how sharp you want this to be. But I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to get rid of that. And there's my key. I'll bring it here. I'm just going to Shift C just to put my 3D cursor there. I may try to apply all transforms in case I did anything funny. And at this point, I'm going to apply my modifier, and it's going to get pretty dense. I'll do an M merge by distance again, just in case. Over to UV editing, with it all selected, Smart UV Project, 0.03. for the margins, select it all, and pack islands. All right, I'll use UV Pack Master 3. It's done with the key selected. Make sure we save and export this as an FBX, and I'll call it just key tutorial. Selected objects, export FBX, save. Okay, we're ready to go into Substance Painter. File, new, OpenGL. Select key tutorial. There's the FBX. Okay, and bring it in. So there it is. Now we bake the mesh maps. All right, very good. Let's add temporal anti-aliasing just so it looks a little bit less jagged. And see, looks good. All right, let's get some metal texture on there. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to come to my Smart Materials and search for metal. And I'm going to use, let's try this, which one? Steel Media Stylized. That may be one that I picked up from somewhere. I think Steel Painted is pretty standard in there. I could go with that. I mean, that looks nice already, just with that Smart Material, you know. Looks like it should be sitting on the ground in a graveyard or around the gate of the graveyard. And then now you can have a look up here. It looks relatively good. I hope it does. Alright, anyways, let's create a fill layer. And in the properties, let's just alt-click color, keep it at that sort of white. Put a black mask on, generator, and choose metal edges. And then I'm just going to bring the wear level down. And that'll give me sort of a white edge around some of this here and there to make it glow a little bit. So I'll put that on there. And let's try dirt next. So this is edges. Alright, let's add a fill layer and alt-click color and then roughness. Roughness all the way up. Color, I think I'm just going to drag it down here instead of going for brown. This is going to be dark. Black mask, generator, and the generator is going to be dirt. And I just want a little bit of that as well. Alright, just filling it in with stuff. And then when I thought we could try, let's put that as dirt. We could try another, I'm going to come to materials and I'm going to search for rust. Try this rust fine. Drag that. I either want it all over or I want to do something else with it. Let's try it all over. Smart masks, look for rust and let's try surface rust. That's a black mask. Alright, just came there, so let's try edge rust. Doesn't that look neat? I'm liking that a lot. You can just have fun with these things. I'm going to come down here and maybe I'll reduce that. And you can also just, reduce the opacity of the whole layer. Just have something in there. Bit of discoloration like that. Yeah, so we could do something like that. We could do another rust. Let's go to free rotation just to get a different position of this thing here. All right. Yeah, okay, I do like that. Let's come back over here. Yeah. Okay, well let's actually say that that's okay there, because I want to do something else with this. I'm going to add a paint layer and I'm going to drop the color. Let's say height and color, and color is going to be like a dark color here. You can just do height if you want. I'm going to drop the height down a bit. And on this layer, I'm going to go to my alphas. I'm going to search for cracks. And this one, crack cells, I think it just comes with Substance Painter. And I know I've been criticized for using this, but I just like the looks of this. I think it makes it look, I don't know, Halloweenish kind of. It's not supposed to look realistic. That's not what this is about. I just want to have these cracks here and there on this. Okay. Just wherever, to make it look kind of scary and cartoonish. How's that? Now these will become more visible when I up the resolution. So let's say we have those there. And that's pretty much what I wanted to do right there. Let's try just increasing the resolution of this. Okay, and then, so you can see whether or not you think that looks ridiculous or not. I just think it looks cool. And that's what I'm going for. Let me try to get this back into position that I like, or the way it almost came in. All right, and then finally, play with the lighting. Obviously, this is not in Blender, but you can get some quite different results with the lighting. And if you wanted to just take a screenshot of this or something, you know, that would be it. So there is your crazy key. That's it right there. All right, lots more we could do with this, but I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks very much for watching, and if you make one of these, good luck. I hope you like it.